Kitty.
And I'm Jennifer.
And we're the O'Neill sisters. And we're going to show you how to make a fun, fast, and easy memory wire bracelet.
We love making memory wire bracelets because they go together really, really fast and they don't need a clasp.
Let's get started.
To make this bracelet, you need memory wire. We're using bracelet-sized memory wire. And you can see that the wire is a little bit like a slinky, but it always goes back to its original shape. And that's why it's called memory wire. It remembers its shape. You need bugle beads, and we like that these particular bugle beads we bought on a skein. It allows you to see how many beads there are once they're next to each other, so you'll know how many you have for your beading project rather than them coming in a tube. But we've also seen them in a tube at craft stores. These are seed beads. They're called cylinder seed beads, and again, these can come on a skein or in a little tube. And both of these materials and the memory wire you can buy at just about any craft store, which means you can make this bracelet right now after one trip to the store. We've got round nose pliers as our main tool, and then wire cutters. These are not our good jewelry cutters. These are more heavy-duty wire cutters. The first step to make this bracelet is to count the coils. And for our design, we decided to do 5 coils. So we're going to show you how we count and then cut our memory wire. We like to start at one end and then basically look at the wire and kind of go around. So that's once around, and then that's 1. So that counts as 1 coil. So then you can just sort of picture going around again, and that's 2, around again, and that's 3, around again 4, around again 5. So that should be 5 coils, and you can always check it by flipping it sort of over and looking. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yep, perfect. So instead of cutting right here where it matches up with my original end, I need to add a 1/2 inch so that I have room to make loops in my ends. So I'm going to add a 1/2 inch on this last loop, and I'm going to use my heavy-duty wire cutters. Memory wire is kind of harder. It's kind of a lot harder than regular jewelry wire, so you don't want to use your regular jewelry plier or jewelry cutters because you'll mar them. So use heavy-duty ones, and it takes a good strong clip to cut that off, and there we've got our 5 coils. So now we're ready to get started beading, but before we feed on our beads, we need to make sure they don't slide off our ends. So we're going to bend a loop into one end of our wire. And to do that, I've got round nose pliers here. And memory wire, as I said, is very hard, so it takes a little bit of extra effort to make a loop, but just a little elbow grease will do it. I'm grabbing the end of my wire with kind of part way up my needle nose pliers or my round nose pliers because I want my loop to be a little bit, not big, but not teeny tiny. This wire is hard, so it's hard to manage a teeny tiny little loop. It's hard to make a loop that's that small. So I'm going to grab my wire and I'm going to roll it just like that part way. I'm going to just reposition my pliers again and kind of roll it again and kind of keep doing that because, as I said, this wire is hard until I get a nice round loop there. So that's my loop. Perfect. So now we're ready to start our beading. So that's going to be our far end, and we're going to start beading on this end. And for our design, what we decided to do is start with 2 golds. So we're going to feed on 2 gold of our cylinder seed beads. That's 1. And this is 2. And then we're going to add on 3 of our turquoise bugle beads. We love these colors together. We think the gold really sets off this turquoise. Do 3 of these, 2, and 3. And then we're just going to alternate 2 golds with 3 turquoise until we get about halfway around our first coil. And then we're going to change the design a little bit to make it interesting. We love bugle beads because they're very accessible. You can find them all over the place. And then these seed beads, some seed beads are round seed beads and some are delicate seed beads. There are lots of different shapes. We like that that the cylinder seed beads sort of mimics the look of the bugle bead, but it's just a little bit different, a little shorter, and it has a metallic-y finish. It looks to me like it's got that gold, like it's gold lined, and then the glass is gold too. Really pretty. This is a really fun project to do at a girls' night or any kind of crafting party because everybody can do a different design if they want. They can feed on 7 gold beads and then 7 turquoise beads, or they could do 1 whole coil in turquoise and 1 whole coil in gold and go back and forth. There are so many choices, so many different ways of being creative and making the design your own. So I'm sliding my beads around to the end. I'm going to feed them all the way around to the end so I can see about how far down I am in my first coil. So we're about halfway around our first coil. So now we want to change the design a little bit. So what I'm going to do is add on a section of the gold beads, and I think I'll do about, I don't know, I think I'll do about 12 or 13 of the gold beads. And it'll create like a sort of focal section on the bracelet. So let me do 12 or 13 of these gold beads. And I took a couple in my hand so that I can feed a couple on at a time. Now we've got 13, I did 13 of our gold beads on there, and now what we're going to do is go back to our original design, which is 3 of our turquoise beads, and then 2 of our gold beads, and we'll continue that pattern all the way around until we reach that section of gold that we just did. And then we're going to show you a little trick to make that design really interesting. These little loops on the end, you can leave them plain like this, or sometimes we'll add a little charm on a jump ring there, or even a little mini tassel. You can add that as like a little decorative touch, whatever you feel like doing. It's your own design. So I'm sliding these all the way down. I want to do that again so I can see where I am in my design. Let me turn this over. So you can see I've come all the way around again to where our gold section is. But I think I want to, instead of adding 3 turquoises here, I want to just add 2 because I want this section of gold to shift, but I don't want it to shift a ton. I just want it to shift a little bit. I'll show you what I mean once I feed these beads on. You'll get it. Now I'm going to add 2 turquoise beads instead of 3. 1 and 2. And then I'm going to slide those around and see where they land, and then I think I'll be ready to add my gold section on. So now I want to see where my turquoise beads line up with my gold section. So see how they're crisscrossing a little bit? That's perfect because I want this gold section to shift on my next row. So now I'm going to add 13 of my gold beads, just like I did before. And if at any point one of your seed beads or bugle beads doesn't go on the wire, it just means it wasn't drilled through properly. Just throw it out. The beads are not that expensive, and it's not worth keeping, you'll keep running into that same bead and trying it over and over again, trying to get it on the wire. And they are glass, so the beads can break if you try to force them. We don't want any catastrophes while we're beading. So it looks like we've got 7 beads on there. We'll do 6 more. 1 more. There we go. And again, I'm going to slide my beads around, and that's because I want to make sure I like how this pattern looks. And I'm kind of holding it upright to slide them around because I don't want the beads that are on the other end to start sliding back around, which they will do. So slide those around. I want to slide them all the way to the end so I can see where that section is. And see how I've got a little bit of a shift now in my gold? Let me do it so you can actually see it there. See, there's a little bit of a shift, and that's what we want. And what we're going to do now is continue beading all the coils of our memory wire. We're going to follow that pattern of 3 turquoise followed by 2 gold until we go all the way back around to the next coil. Then we'll see where we are, make sure we get a little bit of a shift in our design before we add our 13 gold seed beads. And then we'll go back to the pattern till we reach the other end, and then we're going to show you how to finish the end. And now we have just enough left here that we can make a loop like we did at the other end. So I'm going to try to place that loop at around the same spot so it ends up being about the same size. So I think it was about there. I'm starting at the end, and I'm going to do just like I did before. I'm going to start to make a loop. Whoops. I'm going to start to make a loop and then go back around and keep twisting. And it looks like I'm coming around and it looks like I've got a little excess wire there. That's no problem at all. What you can do is just continue rolling the wire around your pliers till you get to where your beads are. This is a good little trick, like that. And then you can take your wire cutters and trim so it matches the other side. So I'm going to trim right there. So I'm going to wedge my pliers in there and cut right where it overlaps, like that. And then I'm going to use my round nose pliers, or you can use chain nose pliers if you have those, to just kind of close that loop because it got pulled out a little bit from the rotating, like that. And now we can see we've got our two loops, and we can put our bracelet on just like that. Coil it around. And there is our beautiful bugle bead memory wire bracelet.